This Liberty Sports Update is brought to you by Beacon Credit Union.
Coach, I just want to open up with the opening statement and kind of talk about how your preparations have and the seasons you've had so far.
Yeah. Well, we're thankful first to the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl for the invitation, and excited to be back in Orlando for our second straight year to play in such a great bowl that has such a great cause. And we loved our experience there last year with the Cure Bowl executives and people and the mission that they have. So we're not going to get to spend some of the normal time of a bowl experience with them because it was such well done by them. But just honored that we're going to be able to represent Liberty University back at the Cure Bowl again this season, and get to play a great opponent in Coastal Carolina who's had a remarkable season. And compliments to them, their coaching staff, their players. They've done a remarkable job. And ours are excited, to have a challenge like this, to measure ourselves at this point in our tenure here in year two, and to play a top 15 team in a bowl game is pretty exciting. So prep's gone well this week. Like everyone, we're dealing with the COVID test and waiting on the results of the last test to come back and all of those things, which kind of keep you anxious, but excited again about this opportunity.
All right, Jamie and then Damien.
Hi, Coach Freeze. Welcome back to Orlando. Just wondering, what did last year's bowl victory do for the program and for the guys who returned to you this season?
Yeah, Jamie, I think it is probably hard to put a quantitative amount on what something like that does in year one. It gives your kids that are returning some experience that says, hey, this is what it feels like, and this is what we should strive for each year. Being an independent is to get to a bowl game like the Cure Bowl, and it's having that experience and getting them to get a taste of what that's like, and for the first time ever, it kind of sets a standard, I think, in your program. And so I just don't think that you can teach what the experience like that causes, and then confidence that they can go and do that throughout the course of a season to get to this point again, and then confidence to learn how to prepare for a bowl game for some of these younger kids that can look to some of the older ones and say, this is how you prepare.
Hey, Hugh, this is Damien Storlet with the News in Advance. A couple of questions for you. One, South Alabama has already announced Corey Platoon will be going there to be the defensive coordinator and safeties coach. How has it been for him prepping with you guys for bowl week and getting ready for the Cure Bowl while also planning out his next destination?
Corey's a pro. He's a professional, and man, I'm always for our guys to get opportunities that better themselves. And Corey deserves to be a coordinator. He's bright and sharp, and he's done a heck of a job for us and assisting Scott. And we'll certainly miss him, but we wish him well at the same time. But he's been a pro. He hadn't missed a single thing, and he didn't have to go interview for it or anything because of, Canes was with me and Corey back in my Ole Miss days, so they already knew each other. And so he's missed nothing. He's given our kids his full attention to this bowl game, and then we'll, obviously transition after the bowl game.
You mentioned last night on a radio interview that guys that have entered the transfer portal, the way they've handled it, the way they've finished this year, you're allowing them the opportunity to play in the bowl game. How important is that for guys like Chris Ferguson and Austin Lewis, who've invested so much in this program to get this opportunity?
Well, I just admire people that finish and finish the right way, and I get the world we live in, and both are transferring for different reasons, and I think both are right to transfer. We had those discussions. We were honest with each other, and I think it's for what they're wanting. I think it's best in their best interest to do that. And my challenge to them was just finish well, and I'll help you any way I can. And I think I talked to Austin this morning. I think he's pretty set and has a place to go to, and Chris has several options. And so but I'm proud of them for finishing. It's the same thing I told our team about playing in a bowl game, is I just think we owe it to college football and to others to to try our best to finish out this 2020 season.
And last one for me, you had an opportunity to game plan for Coastal back in early December, and now you have 2 additional game films for them from BYU and Troy. What do you need to do in order to beat Coastal, and who's been standing out for you that you've noticed that you guys need to really key in on?
Oh, beating Coastal is going to take our best effort for sure. I mean, figuring out how to block 94, 9, 52, 34, 43, all those guys. I mean, and then figuring out a way to stop not only their option principles, but a quarterback that can throw it and run it. I mean, it's a tall task. They've got a complete football team, and they play extremely hard, and that's and they're very talented. So and well coached. So it's going to take a great effort, and us playing pretty flawless to beat them. Having to plan back a few weeks ago definitely has expedited, our game planning, and I think that's probably the same for both teams. So that is helpful.
Paul and then Jermaine.
Hugh, is there anything that you've done as a coaching staff for a program because of the pandemic, whether it's in terms of how do you recruit, how do you conduct team meetings or remote learning, that you would like to carry over into 2021 when things return to normal, that you found to work better than perhaps you've worked things in the past?
Yeah, this probably won't be real popular with a lot of college coaches, but I enjoy recruiting from here and not going away from home. So I think it's real possible that we could really change the recruiting calendar to where you may not have to go out as much, but that's just my preference. I like our coaches being here with our current kids. I don't think we spend enough time with our current teams in the old schedule. We're always running around trying to get the next guys, and we could be really investing into the lives of our kids a little more. So whether it's let's don't go out in spring, let's just do it virtual. And then obviously you need to go do home visits before they sign and bring them to campus. But I think bringing kids to campus is probably more important than all the running around we do and going into schools and all of those things. But I think it could be limited some in that. As far as dealing with your own team, I didn't like the virtual world. I like seeing our kids face to face and eye to eye, but certainly we had to adjust, based on it. I think every state's different, and whatever the governor, we've had several different changes, whether it was 15 in a room at one time up to then the full team and then back to a smaller group. So we've had to do a lot of different adjusting. I don't care for that. I hope we can get back to dealing with our team on campus as normal, but I wouldn't mind seeing the recruiting aspect limited even to some of the things, particularly in the spring, where I think you need to be investing in your kids here.
And can you describe, if you have a perspective on it or from your own perception, we always talk about the physical toll the season takes on a team after 11, 12 games, going into a bowl game, being beat up. What's your perception of the emotional toll this season has taken on your team and your staff? Uncertainty, testing.
Yeah, I can only speak, for our team. I can't speak for others. But this 2020 season has brought physical challenges, mental challenges, emotional, the whole spectrum. Academic challenges, nutrition challenges. You've had it all this year. And I'm really proud of our kids and our team, our entire team, administration, academics, nutrition, everybody, counselors. I think we've managed this as well as you can, and our kids have kept, for the most part, a positive mental state of mind. And I'm proud of them for wanting to finish, because it's not ideal. It's not ideal to be here on Christmas week and missing Christmas with families. And after everything we've been through that started back in August, are we going to play? Are we not going to play? We were fortunate to go, 10 straight games and not miss a game. And then, then COVID got us there that last week. So it's I would love to hear our players, but when I look at our players, I think that they have handled the mental toll of 2020 is about as good as you could, and I'm very, very proud of that fact.
Hey, Coach, this is Jermaine Farrell over at WFXR. By the way, good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well today.
Doing good.
Coach, I got to ask you, obviously last year, first time Liberty went to a bowl and the bowl experience that you get and all the trappings with that, but this year is a little bit different. How do you treat this as a bowl experience? Well, it's kind of an untraditional bowl experience.
Yeah, to me, I don't. Our kids know it's a bowl game, and the facts of the matter of who we are in 2020 and what we have to do determines that we can't have the normal bowl experience. I think we kind of condition our kids and our staff. We can't control that, so we don't worry about it. It's an opportunity to go represent Liberty on a national stage on ESPN in a bowl game, and that we love the Cure Bowl. I mean, it's been good to us. We're 1-0 there, and they treated us really well, and it's a great cause. And so, we don't get caught up in, well, we're not getting to spend 4 days there and go to Disney World. And I hadn't heard one of our kids, say that. We're just excited that, man, we're included in the bowl season and can finish off 2020 playing a great opponent like Coastal.
And then, Coach, obviously the change in venue. Last year, Exploria Stadium. Now you get the Big House Camping World Stadium. How neat is that going to be to play in a big stadium like that? Yeah,
I've coached one time there, in the kickoff classic against Florida State, and I love the stadium, loved everything about it. I think it's a great venue to play a college football game in, and I'm excited for our kids to get to experience that.
Thanks, sir.
Chris Hayes.
Hey, Coach, Chris Hayes, Orlando Sentinel. I was just wondering, on a personal level, how rewarding is it for you to have left Ole Miss the way you did and come into Liberty and have the success that you've had so far?
Oh, it's very rewarding. I like to win. I like to build programs that compete and win games. And so, I don't necessarily define myself by what the scoreboard says, but certainly that is one of the proofs that you know what you're doing, and that you have kids that buy into what you're saying and a staff that buys in, and so it's certainly rewarding to come into a place that's moving into FBS and to go to 2 straight bowl games is very rewarding. But the biggest reward is just the relationships you have with these kids and getting to see them have success and experience, what we've gotten to in these first 2 years. But there's no question that, whenever you get let go from a job, you want to prove that what. I'm good at what I do. I mean, I think that would be the case for anybody that's worth their salt. Is they want to prove that they can do the job that they enjoy doing and are called to do, and so it is rewarding in that manner.
And Liberty has hit Orlando area pretty hard recruiting-wise recently. Maybe not with the success you'd like to see, but what does a game like this and a game last year do for recruiting down here?
Oh, I think it helps us in recruiting everywhere because it's going to be on a national stage. I think it's the only game on that night, so it'll be well watched, and our Orlando kids are playing really well for us. So I'm that's about as far south as we go, and I think we've got a good rapport with the coaches there, and we'll continue to recruit Orlando.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
All right, good morning, Coach. Really quick, just wanted to start off by asking, you had mentioned that not all things are necessarily defined by the scoreboard, and it's with that thought in mind I kind of ask, regardless of the outcome of this game and with all the challenges you faced, you had mentioned the mental challenge of COVID and all of the above, would you say that this could be the best season in Liberty football so far, considering all the challenges you had to face and being 1 point away from undefeated?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, regardless of what happens Saturday, I think this is the best season in Liberty football history. I mean, you're 1 point from being 10-0, and you're ranked in the top 25 in the country right now. I mean, I don't think it's even a question of what team goes down as having the best season in Liberty history. It's got to be this one. There's just too many standards that have been met and set, I think, for anyone to argue that fact.
And Coach, I apologize I didn't do it beforehand. This is Kyle Nash with A7BN Sports. And the last thing I want to ask, going into this game, one could argue that there's a lot of elements where you kind of mirror Coastal in your approach to the game. A mobile quarterback, a relentless front seven. Are there any little differences that you see on field that you might be able to attack for Coastal?
I think there are a lot of similarities to our teams. They're kind of a different. They base out of a little different defensive front, but I think both our teams play extremely hard on defense and are multiple. So there are similar. And offensively, we both like to control the ball and control the clock, and we have dual threat quarterbacks, and they can run it, they can throw it, and then probably the only difference is they run a little triple option stuff, and we don't do that too much. So, but there are, like you said, very, very similar traits to our football teams.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Freeze, this is Ian Brooking from the Myrtle Beach Herald. Hope you're doing well this Wednesday. With Coastal and Liberty, they go back to 2003. Old rivals in the Big South. What is the administration, or maybe some former players or coaches have talked to you about this rivalry and what it means to Liberty University?
Yeah, I've had some. It's hard for me to see it that way because I just, I wasn't a part of it, and neither were the current kids that we have, and we're no longer in the same conference. But obviously there's a history there. I don't know what that means to their current kids or really to our current kids. But in talking to the people that experienced it, it had all the traits of every rival I've ever been a part of. So I get that and understand that. But ultimately, when the ball's kicked off, all of the things that go into a rivalry probably just fade away, and it comes down to who's going to execute and make the fewest mistakes. But I do think that there'll be a little extra energy in this game, whether it's because it's a rival game in people's minds or a big bowl game that matches two top 25 teams. I don't know that we need any more than that for it to be a little more energy and juice in it.
Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Coach, Nick Pierce. Typically, your team tends to win the game when you outrush your opponent. Two teams here that like to run the ball effectively. You mentioned their triple option. Scott had a pretty good game plan last year against Georgia Southern, although there's some differences in Coastal's triple option than theirs, obviously. That said, how important is it to be able to outrush them and be able to take their run away here? Is that the biggest key to the game, or is it something else?
I think us being balanced is key. I don't think if we get one-dimensional, then we got problems for sure. They're definitely different than Georgia Southern. They do run triple option, but man, they do a lot more and very difficult to defend. So I think if you're asking me the keys to the game, I would look at turnovers and I would look at red zone opportunities and which team got it in the end zone and which team had to kick field goals. I think that'd be probably the first two things I look at is turnovers and red zone opportunities and what happened both offensively and defensively there.
And lastly for me, just looking at last year and having been through several bowl experiences and now one with this program as well, is there anything differently you're going to do this year, or do you want to keep things pretty much the same as last year, just going in and leading up to the game?
Yeah, I mean, this is different totally. This is like an away game as far as the schedule. We won't treat it. Obviously, Christmas is Eve's tomorrow, and then Christmas Day, and we'll have to leave on Christmas Day and get down, and we'll treat it just like a normal night away game.
Coach Charlie Krause with the Coach and Crew Show. One thing you and Coach Chadwell had in common this season, I'm sure there's multiple things, but at least one thing that you two had in common is you both were in the center of rumor mills for other coaching jobs, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
I know how he's handled it. My question to you is, how'd you put that fire barn storm to rest?
Yeah. How did he handle it? I'd like to know.
He got a little worked up in one press press conference and said, "No more questions. It's off the table.
Yeah.
I'm tired of talking about it." End of story. So
Yeah.
after about 4 or 5 weeks, he put it to rest hard.
I wondered, you always wonder how to do those because, man, I just want to be straight and honest with my administration and our players. That's the only ones I really care about. But, man, it's certainly because it's a compliment when you're mentioning those to all to everybody, your players and your staff. And I've been at the highest level of college football and conferences like that, and there's an attractiveness to those, but there's also a lot of things I didn't care for also. But when you're mentioning all that, I went straight to our team and I went straight to our administration and I said, "Here's the deal, guys. We're winning. I had success in the SEC and beating Nick Saban and Kirby and Mullen and some of the guys that are in the top 6, 7 in the country." And so because of your success and because of my past, this is as long as we're having success here, this is probably not going to go away. But you have my word on one thing. It would take something really special for me to ever consider leaving. And you will be the first to hear it from me if I have an interest. And until you hear it from me, don't believe anything you read. And that's kind of how I handled it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Coach? Damien.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to ask you about your quarterback, Malik Willis. How do you think he's done stepping into his role, as a transfer coming in and his leadership abilities?
Very pleased, Jamie. Malik's, he cares. He wants to lead well. He wants to prepare well. The only thing, he needs to take care of the ball a little better. But as far as how he's approached his leadership role here and stepped into his role on this football team, I think he's done a phenomenal job with that. And I think the sky's the limit. He's only going to get better as he continues. I mean, this is his first year to really play college quarterback. And, and I think he's just going to continue to improve with another year in our system. And but to this point, he obviously had to sit out for a while with COVID, and he's had to knock a little rust off in practice. But hopefully he'll settle in when the game's kicked off and have one of his better games. He's going to have to play really, really well for us to beat Coastal.
You retweeted Ross Dellinger's top bowl games to watch, and it looks like the Cure Bowl, which typically isn't one of the more attractive bowl matchups, is the most attractive non-New Year's Six bowl this year. How good is that for both programs? You've alluded to the primetime slot, only game that's going to be on Saturday night for college football. And how attractive is this for both programs to be in a bowl game that is going to garner a lot of interest and a lot of notoriety because of how good these teams have been this year?
Yeah, one of my friends sent me that, and I thought it was worth retweeting. And you have an operation like Sports Illustrated that ranks all the bowl games, and when you look at the ranking I hope our kids saw that, but when you look at the ranking of bowl games, and it says the number one bowl game in his opinion to watch is the Cure Bowl with Coastal and Liberty. That's exciting. I wanted our recruits to see that. I wanted our signees to see that, our families to see that, and there's no question that it's an opportunity for both of us to expose to the nation that we play really, really good football, both schools.
Hugh, just one more. You had mentioned Malik with COVID, and then obviously had several others, within the team. But then also just the fact you haven't played, it'll be almost a whole month since you played a game. I mean, given all of that, how has practice gone? How have guys looked here this week?
Yeah, it's 30 days since we played, I think, when we kick off, and that's like starting the season over. So you're not quite sure exactly how that's going to be for us. But, you've got to manage making sure that they're ready for the workload this coming Saturday without overdoing it and them not being fresh. Depend on Dom and my strength staff to really help us with that. But you still don't know. It's been 30 days since we played. We'll see. We'll knock the rust off and hopefully settle in.
Let's wrap up with one last question for Coach, and that's for me. What would it mean for Liberty for a win on Saturday? How does that help this program as it proceeds into the future?
Well, I mean, you got a matchup. I think they're, rankings, I don't know, 12th, 11th, 10th. It depends on which poll you look at. And so you're playing an undefeated team that's ranked in the top in the nation. And, obviously we're thrilled to be ranked in the top 25, but I think it solidifies what has been the best year in Liberty football and solidifies our top 25 ranking, and then gives us a lot of momentum heading into 2021.